What will you do to save your friend? Journey back to 1983 in the vast expanse of Australia's Coral Sea, where an unbreakable bond of friendship faced its ultimate trial. Stranded and surrounded by the untamed ocean, three companions encountered a 15-foot great white shark that would turn their adventure into a heart-stopping fight for survival. This is the riveting tale of their harrowing ordeal, a story that unfolds against the backdrop of raw nature's fury and the unyielding strength of camaraderie. Join us on Shark Nation as we bring to you this story about friendship and shark attacks that became the basis of the movie Reef. On the evening of July 22, 1983, the stage was set for a maritime adventure as the new venture readied itself for departure from the tropical city of Townsville in northeastern Australia. At the helm of the 14-meter prawn trawler was Captain Ray Boundy, a relatively young skipper at 27 years old, already a father of two and a seasoned seaman. Assisting him as the second-in-command was Dennis Murphy, affectionately known as Smurf, a 23-year-old deckhand hailing from Brisbane. Smurf had a reputation as a larrikin, a young man with a carefree lifestyle, moving from place to place, always in pursuit of the next good time. Completing the trio was Linda Horton, a mere 21-year-old who assumed the role of the onboard cook. Without delay, the new venture embarked on its journey, setting its course for the fertile commercial fishing grounds nestled between Townsville and the Great Barrier Reef. They understood that the sooner they got down to work, the sooner they could return to the embrace of their loved ones on solid ground. However, the winds that had unsettled Linda upon departure refused to abate, and by Sunday evening, the waves had grown in intensity. As night fell, the new venture was battling heavy seas, with the small trawler being tossed about mercilessly by the swells. There was no reprieve in sight. Sometime after midnight, a colossal wave hit them. Dennis, who had been on deck and soaked by the waves, was forced to dive into the sea as the vessel succumbed to the sea's fury. Meanwhile, Ray and Linda, trapped in the wheelhouse, struggled in vain to maintain stability in the tempestuous waters. Eventually breaking free as the boat capsized, the two joined Smurf in the water. Utilizing the coordinates they had recorded just before the new venture capsized, they estimated themselves to be roughly 90 kilometers from their home base in Townsville and approximately 45 kilometers from the Palm Islands. Items from the wreck floated alongside them, and they hastily gathered anything they deemed useful. With a makeshift raft fashioned by lashing a rope around the collected debris, they had their basic lifeline. Dive into the world of sharks by subscribing to our channel and get ready for a tidal wave of thrilling content that will leave you hooked. As Monday morning broke, the trio held onto their rudimentary raft and began paddling in that direction. Ray, Linda, and Smurf knew that progress would be slow, but they were determined to stay positive as they embarked on their arduous journey across the open sea. It was on that fateful Monday night when a shark made its presence known. A formidable tiger shark, measuring around 5 meters in length, emerged from the depths of the Coral Sea. Ray Boundy, an experienced fisherman, recognized the presence of the shark and adhered to a common belief that, if left undisturbed, the shark might lose interest and move on. Although rough seas had disassembled their makeshift raft over the previous day, the conditions had finally eased, and they still possessed a few things that could assist them in staying afloat. Their respite was short-lived. Ray Boundy, at the helm, suddenly felt a swift movement beneath the surfboard. Reacting instinctively, he kicked out with his other leg as the shark nipped at his left knee. Fortunately for Ray, it was a probing bite, and the massive predator swiftly withdrew. Just as swiftly as it had arrived, the shark vanished, leaving Ray, Smurf, and Linda treading water with a growing sense of foreboding. 10 minutes later, the shark re-emerged, maintaining a cautious distance. Its dorsal fin dipped beneath the surface, and an uneasy pause ensued. Suddenly, Smurf let out a piercing scream, exclaiming, "He's got my leg! The bastard's got my leg!" Drawing from their previous encounter, Boundy shouted, "Kick him! Kick him!" The shark had seized Smurf by the calf, and in desperation, he kicked downward with his free leg. His efforts proved futile, as his foot collided with the shark's tough jaws and snout while it maintained its grip. With a sudden and forceful yank, the deckhand was pulled beneath the surface, disappearing momentarily. He resurfaced moments later, his leg amputated. Dennis Murphy, Smurf, now grasped the grim reality. He had lost his leg. Boundy and Linda soon comprehended the severity of the situation as the water surrounding them darkened with blood. Their initial impulse was to fashion a tourniquet to stem the bleeding, but they lacked suitable materials. Their predicament took a turn for the worse when the shark returned once more. Boundy, desperation in his voice, turned to Smurf and asked, "What do you want to do?" With his leg hemorrhaging and a grim acceptance of his fate, Smurf knew there was no hope for him. He looked at Boundy and Linda and said, "You bolt. Gather all the stuff. Leave me." Displaying immense courage and the hope of drawing the shark away, Murphy bid them farewell, pushed them away, and swam in the opposite direction. As the two remaining crew members swam towards the distant reef, they glanced back, a decision they would later regret, witnessing the shark turn back toward Murphy, lifting him out of the water. Ray and Linda turned away, unable to bear the sight. Boundy calculated that if they persisted, they would reach the reef by morning, striving to keep Linda's spirits up as they pressed on, their hope resting on the distant dawn yet to break. Within 2 hours, the shark made its ominous return. Was it the same one? Ray and Linda couldn't be certain, but an eerie sense of déjà vu gripped them as they observed the familiar, sinuous fins that heralded its presence. Clinging to each other's hands for whatever solace it could offer, they watched in silence as the shark circled them, its repetitive orbit a haunting reminder of their perilous situation. Physically and emotionally drained from their arduous swim and the shock of their ordeal, they could do little more than track the shark's movements with glazed eyes. After what felt like an eternity, the shark lazily closed in on Linda, who was seated in the life ring. It seized her by the arms and chest, and with her waning strength she emitted a feeble cry. Ray Boundy, incapacitated and helpless, could do nothing as the shark violently shook Linda. Linda's resistance was short-lived, and she fell motionless. Boundy, now numb and driven solely by the instinct to survive, continued paddling towards the distant reef, his fear numbed by exhaustion. The looming shape of the tiger shark drew near, observing him from a short distance. Boundy was almost too drained to experience the appropriate level of fear, his focus solely on one objective: survival. The sight of Lodestone Reef on the horizon spurred him onward, and he strove to keep the shark at bay, inching closer to the prospect of salvation. With the assistance of a sudden, sizable wave, Boundy was propelled towards the edge of Lodestone Reef. Summoning his last reserves of strength, he clawed his way ashore, his body scraping against the unforgiving rocks and jagged coral. Lying flat on his belly, Ray was overcome with a mixture of triumphant laughter and relief. However, this fleeting moment of joy quickly gave way to the gravity of the harrowing ordeal, reducing him to tears. In his delirium, he began to discern the distant sound of helicopter blades. Could the story, in truth, serve as a cover for an altercation or some other sinister incident that transpired aboard the new venture? Regrettably, only Boundy would ever know the veracity of his account, making it a story shrouded in mystery,